All right, so we're not done with fractions just yet. But as you can guess, since we just covered multiplying fractions, obviously next we are doing dividing fractions. This might be a new concept for you. You did not do this in fifth grade, as far as I know, unless your teacher went above and beyond. But this is a super important concept in sixth grade. In fact, it's pretty much, I would say, out of all the fraction questions on your EOG, I would say 90% of them are dividing fractions. There's no adding fractions, there's no subtracting fractions. It's either dividing or multiplying. And like I said, 90% of the time it's going to be dividing. So it's super important that you understand how to do dividing fractions because it's definitely going to be important on your test. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Just three main steps that you need to know for dividing fractions. All right, and you might have heard people reference this before. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to keep the first fraction. All right, and you'll notice in my title that it says proper fractions. So we're not dealing with any mixed numbers or anything like that today. We will have some whole numbers, but not mixed numbers. We'll do mixed numbers tomorrow. So we are going to keep the first fraction, and I'm going to underline this K right here, and you'll understand why in just a second. All right, then the second step is change the division sign to a multiplication sign. All right, and I'm going to underline the C. And then my third step is flip the second fraction. I'm going to underline the F. All right, then I lied, you have more than three, but those are the main three. So then you multiply straight across like we've been doing. You can cross cancel if needed. Once again, cross canceling is not mandatory. It's just there if you want to use it. And then obviously the last thing with any time you're working with fractions is simplify if necessary. Because obviously sometimes you don't need to simplify. As simplified as you get. But if you'll notice, like I said, I underline those three letters because a lot of times me or students always refer to this as KCF. Not KFC, not talking about chicken, but KCF, keep, change, flip. Okay, you'll hear me say that a lot. Keep, change, flip, keep, change, flip. But yeah, that's what we use a lot. So KCF just means keep, change, flip. So if you hear me say that, that's all I mean by it. Another word that's super important for you to remember is this one right here. All right. And if we are in class together, I would love to always call on people to try to say this word because people most of the time don't say it correctly. But this is pronounced reciprocal. Okay. So reciprocal is when a fraction is flipped. And if you looked up reciprocal in the dictionary, it would most definitely not say that. I have definitely simplified it into nicer terms, sixth grade terms. But literally, all it means is if you have the fraction 5/6, then the reciprocal of that is I'm going to flip it, and it's going to become 6/5. That's the reciprocal. So anytime you flip a fraction, that is called the reciprocal, okay? So another example, if you have 1/7, the reciprocal of 1/7 would be, let me flip it, 7/1. And literally, sometimes I've seen on tests before where they will say, what is the reciprocal of this number? Okay, so it's not even that you have to do any math. You just have to remember what the word reciprocal means. Okay? All right. Well, what if you have a whole number? Like, what if you have 8? And they say, what's the reciprocal of 8? All right, well, you need to remember that 8, if I want to write 8 as a fraction, so right now, it's equal to 8/1. So then the reciprocal of that would be 1/8. That one always trips people up. When you have a whole number, people really get messed up with that. But remember, if you have a whole number, just put a 1 under it and it doesn't change the number. It just makes it a fraction, which is what you have to do sometimes. All right? So the reason that I'm talking about the word reciprocal is because if you remember in our steps, when we have to flip this second fraction, sometimes you might hear me word it as what's the reciprocal, or find the reciprocal, or don't forget to change the reciprocal. Okay? I'll say something like that. And I'm just referring to that step right there where you have to change that second fraction. So like if your second fraction was 1/3, you'd have to flip it and change it to 3/1. Okay? But really, if you'll notice, there's no division whatsoever in this problem, or when you're dividing fractions, there's 0 dividing fractions at all. So it's important that you understand how to multiply fractions, because that's really what you're going to be doing for this lesson. Sorry, I was trying to focus. It got a little blurry. Okay, so let's do some examples. Let's see here. Once again, no calculators, just so that we can understand the steps. Because, of course, the calculator knows how to do it, but I need to make sure that you know how to do it. So we'll start easy. Let's do 3/4 divided by 1/2. Okay? So that's what they've given me. And I need to solve this. Okay? So the very first step, if I go back to the top, my first step was keep the first fraction. Don't do anything to that first fraction. You're going to leave it exactly like it is. I'm going to get a different color just so that you can see what it's going to look like now. So 3/4 is going to stay the same. Leave it alone. You never, ever change that first fraction. Okay? I take that back. Forgive me. If it's a whole number like this right here, you obviously have to put a 1 under it. So you have to change it, but not change it completely. Okay? So leave the first fraction alone. Second step says change the division sign to a multiplication sign. So instead of having a division sign right here, now I'm going to have a multiplication sign. Okay? Now we're on to that third step, which is the most important and the one that people mix up all the time. You flip the second fraction. So instead of being 1/2, I'm going to flip it, and it's going to become 2/1. Okay? So we keep, change, flip. Keep the first number the same. 3/4 stay the same. I did not change it. I changed my division sign to a multiplication sign, and then I flipped my second fraction. And now I can just solve it. Multiply straight across. If you want to cross cancel, you can. If you want to go straight across, you can. I'll go straight across this time because the numbers are pretty simple. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. All right, I can simplify this. What can I divide both of these by? I can divide both of these by 2. Okay, so if I do 6 divided by 2, I get 3. If I get 4 divided by 2, I get 2. And then if it wanted it as a mixed number, I could change it to 1 and 1/2. Okay, I don't know which one it wants. Once again, it didn't tell me, so there we go. All right, let's look at another one. All right, this time we're doing 5/7 divided by 2/3. Remember, we're only dealing with proper fractions. All right, so what am I going to keep? What am I going to leave alone? I'm not going to do anything with. That's going to be the first fraction. The first fraction you leave alone. So 5/7 is going to stay. Okay, so I've done the keep. Next is the change. what comes next? My division sign comes next. I change that to a multiplication sign. And then my last step was to flip the second fraction. This is my second fraction. 2/3 is going to flip to 3/2. Okay? Nothing to cross cancel here, so I multiply straight across. 5 times 3 is 15. 7 times 2 is 14. Okay? I can't simplify that. Nothing goes into both of them, so you might want to leave it like this. If it wants it as a mixed number, it would be 1 and 1/14. All right, well, remember, those two are equivalent. They're the exact same thing. All right, let's try another one. 8/9 divided by 4/5. Okay, what do I keep? You always keep that first fraction. You're never going to change the first. Remember, it's always keep, change, flip. So I keep the first number, change this division sign to a multiplication sign, and then you flip the second fraction, okay? So instead of being 4/5, we're going to flip it to 5/4. Okay? You know, just to give you some more practice with cross canceling, I am going to cross cancel this one. All right. 5 and 9 don't share anything, but 8 and 4 do. 8 and 4, they both share 4. So if I do 4 divided by 4, that gives me 1. If I do 8 divided by 4, that gives me 2. Okay? So now I'm doing 2 times 5 is 10. 9 times 1 is 9. Okay? Once again, they might want you to leave it like that. They might want you to change it to a mixed number. So if I do, 9 goes into 10 one time. There's 1 left over. All these keep equaling 1. I'm not doing that on purpose. Just totally randomly made these problems. All right, let's try. Okay, let me show you real quick though. If I had chosen not to cross cancel, I would have multiplied straight across. So 8 times 5 is 40. 9 times 4 is 36. So you would have had 40/36. And if you simplify that, it still gives you 1 1/9. So once again, if you don't like cross canceling, you would have had 40/36, and that's still going to end up giving you 1 1/9. Okay? All right, so let's try one with a whole number now. So we're going to do 12 divided by 5/6. Okay? So once again, even though it's a whole number, you leave the first number alone. You don't change it. I say that, but remember, it still has to be a fraction. Okay, so you got to make sure that first number is a fraction. Right now, it's not a fraction. All right, so I got to make it a fraction. So I'm going to make it a fraction by just doing 12/1. But technically, I've kept the first fraction the same. Nothing has changed with this fraction. Okay, I didn't flip it or anything like that. All right, so you keep the first number, change the division sign to a multiplication, and then remember, you flip the second fraction. So it's going to be 6/5. Okay, there's nothing I can cross cancel here, so I just got to go straight across. 12 times 6 is 72. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, if you want to leave it like this, you can, but if they want it as a mixed number, then you have to convert that to a mixed number. And if you do, it will be 14 2/5. Okay? All right, I have 58 seconds. I don't know if I can get through this one in time, so if it cuts me off, I'm sorry. But let's see if I can do it. So 4 divided by 7/12. All right, so once again, 4, I just need to change it to 4/1. I did not flip it. Division sign changes to a multiplication sign. 7/12 is going to switch to 12/7. Okay? Nothing I can cross cancel. I just go straight across. So 12 times 4 is 48. 7 times 1 is 7. If I simplify this and change it to a mixed number, it is 6 6/7. Okay? So the main thing to remember with multiplying or dividing fractions is that keep, change, flip.